Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Thomasine, a certified spiritual life coach at The Comforting Path. Today, we're diving deep into how forests are living, interconnected communities that mirror our own human society. I'm honored to welcome Deborah as our special guest. Deborah brings her knowledge and experience connecting with nature and spiritual energy to this discussion. Welcome, Deborah.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yes, I have a little bit of my own personal experience with forests, trees, nature, and I've been spending some time observing, the different occurrences with animals and nature and this the communication and energy. So I'm hoping that I can teach a little bit through my experience about connection, resilience, and even healing.
Great. So stay with us until the end, and we'll share live footage of our tree connection experiences. You'll see a dragonfly angel numbers if you're familiar with angel numbers. Mine was 1111 and 1010, and other signs that highlight the subtle ways that nature communicates. So let's get to it. You ready? Okay.
Go.
Sections. Okay, so the forest as societies. So, forest functions like societies. Trees aren't solitary, they communicate and cooperate. So, Dr. Suzanne Simard of the University of British Columbia discovered that trees are connected via mycorrhizal fungal network, underground webs that allow nutrients and water sharing. They also send chemical messages through the air. This is so remarkable because it challenges the old views that nature is purely competitive. Instead, trees support one another, especially the weaker individuals, ensuring the forest thrives as a community.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, observing this has influenced my own personal healing. Just as trees can care for one another, we can nurture and support ourselves and our communities. It's a profound lesson in reciprocity and interconnectedness, how trees communicate and stay in contact.
So, for viewers, imagine the fungal network, like the internet of the forest, like the little mushrooms you see around the trees. They're tiny threads beneath the soil connecting trees across kilometers. A single teaspoon of soil may contain kilometers of hyphae. This is the infrastructure that allows the forest to communicate, share, and thrive.
Exactly. And it reminds us that about that unseen part about support systems like our family, mentors, different people who can sustain us in ways that we might not immediately notice. Trees are showing us that we don't have to face life in isolation.
True. So let's talk about the ecological roles and respect. Okay, so beyond communication, trees provide essential ecological services. They cycle water, store carbon, clean the air, and host countless species of plants and animals. Losing forests means losing the very system that sustains life, including our own.
And when we walk in the forest, like the coastal Pacific rainforest in like British Columbia, we can experience such a awe, when we take all that in. Some trees there are over 100 meters tall and more than 1,000 years old. Their presence teaches us so much about respect, humility, and reverence.
Yes. Historically, Germany had like 80% of its area covered with mixed species beech forests. Today,
Wow.
the monocultural plantations dominate, showing the consequences of disrupting the natural interconnections. Pristine forests are rare, and their protection is crucial.
I mean, it's a call for us to reconnect with nature, not just admire it from afar. Respecting trees and forests is respecting the web of life that actually includes all of us.
Yes, and modern forestry often relies on clear cutting and planting only the species, okay, which isolates trees and weakens forests. Dr. Simmer research shows that when trees are isolated from their neighbors, they become sickly and more susceptible to diseases. Um, so her isotope tracing experiments reveal that carbon, nitrogen, and water moves through the microcorrozole, that's that word again, network between birch, fir, cedar, hemlock, demonstrating that trees are resources to support the community.
Okay, so to help viewers feel this connection, let's try a brief visualization. If you close your eyes and place your hands on the floor or a tree if nearby, imagine the roots stretching underground, intertwining with each other, and with neighboring trees as well. You can almost visualize the energy, the nutrients, and care flowing in each direction. You feel the connection to the forest support system, and then you can be able to feel the frequency in the message.
Yes, and that exercise also helps us recognize that we, like trees, thrive on interconnection and systems, physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
Mm.
So let's get into the spiritual, cultural, and the personal insights. Okay, spiritually, trees teaches resilience and patience. Okay, the principle as above, so below. Have you guys heard that? A lot of Wiccans use that.
Yeah.
Reminds us that the branches represent consciousness growth, and the roots mirror our subconscious patterns. Observing trees can guide reflection on our personal and collective growth.
In many cultures like the Celtic culture, indigenous Eastern cultures, trees symbolize wisdom, longevity, and connection to the spirit. They're living teachers. During our visit, I noticed a dragonfly near the tree that we were communicating with.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like a sign from Dad, who recently passed. Dragonflies represent transformation, guidance, and presence from loved ones, even those who have passed on.
Yeah, and at the same time, I noticed 1111, later 1010 on my phone. These numbers symbolize alignment. It means also awakening, new beginnings,
Mm-hmm.
and also loved ones who have passed on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and it highlights a help me, I cannot talk today, messages, nature that sends us to us.
Yeah. You can do a simple exercise to also connect by placing your hand on a trunk of a tree and breathe deeply. Meditate under the tree, imagining the roots intertwining with the tree's roots.
Mm-hmm.
And then another thing that's important is to actually journal your feelings after your session. This way you can always come back and relive that experience and share it with others.
Yes, journaling your reflections and feelings is really something that you can later come back, like Deborah was saying, because certain things you might not remember, or some things might hit differently. Forests are complex, living societies that mirror our own communities. Observing and learning from them teaches us the resilient cooperation and healing by reconnecting with the responding forces and safeguarding our own well-being.
Nature provides lessons, sights, guidance. You have to take the time to listen, observe, and honor it. Our connections to the forest is also a connection to ourselves.
Mm-hmm. So let's watch our live footage of the tree connection and the dragonfly and
synchronicities.
I cannot say it. I can't help it. That appears during our visits, okay? We practice this, and I'm okay. I'm not going to edit this. But we practice this, and I cannot say that word. But anywho, but I just want to thank you all for taking your time to share with me and our special guest, Deborah. On our experiments when going out and connecting with the trees. I'm gonna hopefully I can attach the footage to this. If not, it'll be on a separate clip, and but I will have it on here if it's not like a link, so you guys can watch it. But it was really a beautiful situation, and thank you, Deborah, for the idea for us to go out and do this experiment, and it was really fun. I would say my most memorable moment is when I felt like the tree was just embracing me and just hugging me. The first interaction was kind of spooked me a little bit, because you're supposed to, before you approach the tree, you're supposed to ask permission, you know, a few feet away, using your voice vibrations, using your energy, with your intentions, your thoughts, and then you ask for a sign. I asked for a sign if it was okay to approach,
Right.
and so I did, and it was just so funny. And I hope, I mean, we looked at it a couple times. We're not sure if you really get the full scope of
Like the wow
the
feeling.
wow
Yeah.
feeling, because it was aggressive in a good way to me.
Yeah.
But it was literally, the branch just jumped out at me. And, and you could see in the background, my beautiful souls, that the other trees and branches were not moving. But this one kind of like jumped at me. So that was my memorable moment. What was your memorable
It was very
moment?
concerted. I mean, you could see the energy was very specific and direct towards you, and it's almost like dealing with an alien. You don't know what to say, you don't know what to do, you don't know how they communicate. So when you get that assertive, I wouldn't say aggressive, but a very deliberate reach out.
Okay.
It kind of takes you back, like wow. But I would say probably the most what stood out to me. I wouldn't say it's the most, but it was just that black juicy ant that did not want me to get near the tree. It was like, it was polite, but it was like whenever I put my hand on the tree, because you do need to connect. You need to connect your pulse with its pulse. You need to time it. You need to sync. You need to share your intentions. And this ant was not having it. Like every time I put my hand on a tree and tried to link with it, it would like crawl around. It was here, it was there. And, it wasn't aggressive. I didn't feel a negative energy, but I did feel something saying like, okay, almost like this is mine. Like this is my area. You can come and hang out for a minute. But that's the feeling that I got. But it's that black ant, that black, fat, juicy ant that just was like taking care of territory.
He really was. He was like on duty, ready
Like
for
he's
action,
guarding a tree.
guarding the tree. And then we have beautiful pictures of the dragonfly, which was a great moment that we shared. Deborah was like, look up. And I'm just like, I don't see it. I was looking at everywhere but where I was supposed to look. But eventually I found it, and it was so beautiful. So as soon as we got in the car to come home, we were like, she was very adamant. She was very passionate, very, very passionate about looking it up and find out what the symbolism of a dragonfly, because she knew in her heart of all hearts it represented something intentional for her. Because it wasn't, I mean, it was kind of camouflage. I mean,
it was kind of cammy. I mean, you can see it had blue in it, but I think it was for both of us.
Yeah.
It was, I had my own personal messages and reasons why that dragonfly stood out to me so much, but it was something totally different for you. And then to combine, it was like we were testing this theory together, to see, will nature respond, and it did. So that was pretty incredible.
Yeah. So we looked it up, and it symbolizes was it new beginnings? No.
It was new
transition.
And
transition. That's what it was. We're going through a transitional state, and also for family, of spirit of the other realm, of someone who has passed on, stating that they're okay. They're letting you know that they're okay. So, so we immediately thought about her dad, and I thought about my ancestors and my guardians, because I do speak to them on a regular basis. I check in, y'all, and because we are going through journeys right now. We are in transition, and so that was very huge. It almost kind of made me like, oh, when I read it, it was like,
it was very emotional.
I was like, oh, when it said, like your dad. I mean, when we thought about her dad, I was like, oh,
because it also lets you know that you're on the right path. you kind of, some of us know about nature in this whole world that we don't really communicate with, and some of us don't. And when you experience it for the first time, it's a very humbling, experience. But to have the dragonfly there was a confirmation that yes, you have crossed over to be able to have this communication, because that's why you ask for permission too. I mean, these trees, like we mentioned, have been here for thousands and thousands of years. They've seen everything, every drought, every flood, every famine, every depression, and that tree has been there. It is, and has remained there, or has given on to life. So therefore it's pretty majestic. So that's why you want that permission.
So I just had to look it up, and I'm gonna see if I can also attach it to the video. But it says seeing a dragonfly spiritually signifies transformation, new beginnings, and self-realization. As it transitions from a water nymph to a winged insect, it also represents living in the present moment. The importance of perspective, and it can be a message from a loved one who has passed, or a sign of embrace, change, and overcoming emotional limitations. So if you, and it breaks it down to like living in the moment, maturity, perspective, transformation, change, inner self, joy, message from a loved one. For Deborah, I had read to her, it said in some cultures, dragonflies are seen as a connection to the spirit world, acting as a messenger from deceased loved ones who want to let you know that they're okay. Also adaptability and resilience is another one. It has for you to look within. It says uses this opportunity for introspection as yourself, as if you are being true to yourself, and how it can move past limiting emotions. So it literally breaks it down to how it will how it affects you, or how you look at it, what you need, what you can get from it on all types of levels. So yeah, so look that up. I think it's great. So anywho, so that's that. So again, I will have the video attached to the end. I want to thank you, my beautiful souls, for allowing me to take this time of your day. And if this resonates with you, please share, like, subscribe, and then put a comment below and let me know for if you have any experiences that you have had, and let us know how your journey or your experience went. Also, my little green witches out there, who have plants in the house that you talk to, share some of your stories and how you interact with them and experiences that you have had. I would love, or we would love, to hear those. So until then, peace and blessings, and have a wonderful day until next week with another video. Thank you.